for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk.
You're listening to Reignite, a podcast where sometimes your choices actually do matter. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
In this episode, we're going over some of the side quests we left until the last minute. Or did we? Some were fetch quests, and some of them gave interesting insight into Hawk's world, but they weren't big enough to get their own episode. So now we've smashed them all into one. Let's get into it.
Yeah, these are missions that were on the shorter side, don't have a lot to talk about, but are worth mentioning overall for the progression of the characters and the narrative.
Yeah, like my notes for each of them are like 5 lines.
Yeah. If you were hoping for one of our lengthy, in-depth episodes, come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so let's kick it off with Loose Ends. Loose Ends is a mission that you receive where you reconnect with the person who bought your contract, bought your way into the city. For me, it was Ethenril. For you, it was Mirren. And it is a little mission. Just a little mish. What was yours? Tell me about what Mirren had you do.
So, Mirren had sent mercenaries to kill Lord Harriman, which will be relevant to why that name just drives me crazy because it's so close to another name that's going to come up in a minute. But Lord Harriman, like a human noble, he sent some thugs to go kill him, and they never reported back. So then he asks you to also go follow up. And so you find the head of this band of like ruffians that Mirren sent, like beat up and hurt, apparently taken out by Lord Harriman's guards. And it turns out there's more to Lord Harriman than we thought. Yeah. And so then you are able to talk to Lord Harriman, who's like, I don't know why he's trying to kill me, but I promise you that I've done no wrong. I have a lot of money, and I will, and like pretty much pleads his innocence.
Sounds
and
fucking
this does
fake
turn
if you
out
ask
to be,
me.
No, I don't remember the immediate particulars, but basically, since since Mirren often is doing shady shit and like trying to get the better of those who probably don't deserve it, I believed Lord Harriman and agreed to let him leave and then to claim he died, or that he had already gotten away. And so when I went back to Mirren, basically I just lied straight through my teeth, which actually worked this time, and said, yeah, by the time I got there, I found your guy, and he was still alive, but Lord Harriman had already gotten away. And he's like, all right, good work for at least bringing my guy back. Here's some money. And so everybody was happy, and by everybody, I mean me.
All right. Funny, the Ethenril mission, similar, but not exact. Ethenril's job is that their men have gone missing, and their cargo is missing. You find out that Ethenril talks about her men as if it's like a full-grown adult. And you get there and you find out it's a 15-year-old from Ferelden named Price who has like literally no other choice but to work for Ethenril. And everybody else got killed. Price is the only one alive, and the cargo is all that's left. And your options are to be basically like, okay, like, this is fine, let's go back to Ethenril. Like, you're okay, cargo's okay, cool. Or you could be like, you could just take the money and run. And that's what I did. My reason for doing this is because Price has 2 younger siblings. He's the only provider for these 2 kids. And he's a kid himself. Like, he should not be putting his life at risk just so he and his siblings can survive another day. It feels very unfair to him, especially when there are options available. So I encourage him to take the money and to go out into the country and to find an apprenticeship on a farm. Because that way he and his sisters can get good work. They'll be safe. And Ethenril isn't going to come looking for him. So he takes it. He also tells me that the sale was actually a trap. They were supposed to sell the cargo to some dwarves, but it was actually the coterie. So the coterie came in, killed everybody except Price, and then that was it. So, you know what? You put this kid's life at risk. Fuck it. I'm getting this kid out. Because I was an adult. I made my decision. You know, I did what I had to do for my family. He's just a kid. This doesn't feel fair. So I encouraged him to get out. And Ethenril gave me nothing.
I did double check also why I sided with Lord Haruman. Lord Haruman was a noble who has a bounty on his head because he had convinced the Viscount to send aid to Ferelden during the Blight, and the other nobles didn't like it. And since I survived basically because he had done that for folks like me, I decided to not side with Mirren, since Mirren was just, speaking on behalf of the capitalists, as it were. And so that's why I betrayed him and backed up Lord Haruman.
That's fair. I am just inclined to not believe a rich person.
I mean, yes, that's true. But I also am less inclined to believe Marin, who's basically lied the entire time I worked for him. So, because he was kind of a douche.
And Ethenril, I'm a little salty that I put my life at risk and you're not going to give me any money. Like, not even half pay. Yeah. Like, come on. Anyway, that was that.
Yeah.
Okay. Herbalist tasks. I feel like we don't need to say a whole lot of it. I had gotten 2 of the 3 ingredients as a matter of course, but the third was a full quest. Do you remember doing herbalist tasks? Herbalist task?
What was the quest? Remember me what the specific quest was?
Going to where the Dalish harvest iron bark.
Oh, yeah. I think I did that a while ago. Kind of happened upon it. Because I don't have it on my list here.
Yeah. The Dalish warriors are forbidden from going where the pure iron bark is harvested because it's overrun by darkspawn and they don't want to lose any of their hunters. So after I'm like, what could be so awful that skilled warriors such as the Dalish are forbidden? Like, who could be better at this than the Dalish? And the quartermaster's like, I like your sense of respect for our people. Let me give you all the information you need.
Right.
It pays to, be nice.
Yeah.
And also to talk someone up every once in a while.
I thought this was Finders Keepers, which I did, which isn't on the list. Which is also not really that much worth talking about. Finders.
I forgot to put Finders Keepers on the list. That's on me.
Yeah,
but I mean, I also did Finders Keepers.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You speak to a man about his stolen cargo, and he asks for you to help get it back because he's trying to go back to the straight and narrow and do legit sales of products and not be a criminal anymore. And so you agree to help. And after you go through the rigmarole of getting his stuff back and fighting your way through a warehouse, you discover that the prized cargo he was missing was poison.
I want to know 2 things.
Yeah.
First, when you had to deal with the harbor master and you were passed off to Aiden, did you give Aiden money or did you come back at night?
I came back at night.
I also came back at night because I was like, fuck you, I'm not giving you money.
Yeah, I had no interest in paying him off. I was like, I'll just do this myself.
So I came back at night and we had to fight some puppies. That was so upsetting.
It was very upsetting.
I hate when I have to fight puppies.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you discover that the cargo is poison. I had Isabella with me and she was like, can I have some?
Yeah, I had Varric with me and he's like, well, he didn't say it wasn't poison either. Trying to defend the shadiness a little bit.
Yeah. My favorite is when you talk to him about it and he says the word legitimate 3 times.
Yeah, he wants to be a legitimate
business with legitimate cargo funded with legitimate money, and I'm like, all right, calm down.
Right. You're still selling stuff to kill people. It's not that legitimate. I actually, in my notes, my 3 notes are stolen cargo, poison, and legitimate.
So did you tell him where it was?
Yes.
Like how you're like, it's poison to kill people. Anyway, here's where it is.
Yeah, I want my money. I've done the work already.
I also told him where it is because I get a discount.
I mean, also it was like, he claims that this is how he's going to get back to being an honest merchant. And honestly, like, it's the person using it who's doing the killing, not selling. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation.
Also, it's not like we don't buy poisons from other people.
I know. Yeah.
So
it's not like, yeah.
Whatever. Take your cargo. Get off my dick about it.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So here's an interesting thing, which I forgot. Based on some of your actions in Dragon Age Origins / Awakening, some missions that appear in Dragon Age 2 may be different.
Right.
So you could have a mission called The Conspirators, or you could have something called Secret Rendezvous.
Yep.
So the Conspirators has to do with Dragon Age Awakening if you saved Amaranthine. No, if you saved the Keep.
Right.
I think. Because then you have to deal with the nobles.
Yeah.
Secret Rendezvous has to do with ship captains waging war. Yeah, sinking Amaranthine ships in order to get a pardon.
Yeah.
It was weird. There was a suspicious lady who is concerned about secret meetings, and she gave me a letter and asked me to eavesdrop.
Yeah, same. That's the one that I got as well.
Yeah. So it wasn't anything. The mission itself wasn't interesting. The thing that I found interesting was that it was a one or the other situation, and depending on what you had done would dictate what you would get.
Yeah, I feel like this game, the missions that happen like that aren't very good or interesting. Like, I just feel like the stuff that's gone, like, comparing it to Mass Effect, because that's what we're here to do on some level, the missions that go from Mass Effect 1 to 2 to 3 often seem to have bigger...
They're fleshed out.
Yeah, and they have bigger consequences or like a bigger impact or just a bigger moment. Like I think about Conrad Werner and how he's cascades through the games. Like, yes, we like to pick on that character and he's a little goofy, but like in all reality, it is an interesting thing that keeps coming up, whether you like it or not. And does play out to affect other side quests later that have bigger moments. Whereas here, this and a couple of others that we'll discuss briefly and that we've discussed in the past, like the werewolf one that we discussed earlier, is just a conversation basically or a fight and then it's done. There's no like larger impact on the world.
Mass Effect definitely had better through lines, I think.
Yeah.
For example, the Rachni Queen.
Right.
If you save the Rachni Queen, then you have a little moment with an Asari acolyte of hers. And then you also have either the true Rachni Queen or a Rachni Queen clone created by the Reapers. And that kind of diverges your game.
Yeah.
Whereas here, we don't get any divergence. And I wonder if, speaking on a meta level, if the failure or the perceived failure of these through-line moments is why we don't get more of them after this game.
Maybe. I mean, I think also, I'm not intimately familiar with the dev cycle, but like, it's different. It's not the same dev teams. There's overlap, I believe. But also, these weren't developed the same way. Mass Effect 1 through 3 was always developed as one thing, right? It was always going to be this long, complete story. That was always the plan for Mass Effect. Whereas Dragon Age, I don't know that was the case. It feels like, at least based on the way the games have been released, that they were meant to be sequels to each other and have some connective tissue inspired by what was done with Mass Effect, but it was you were never intended to play the same character throughout all, which is why it's more disparate, I think.
I don't know. I wish there had been more links to keep the world consistent.
Well, I also feel like when we get to Inquisition, that feels more linked because of the recurring characters.
Yes.
Whereas in this game, there are some recurring characters, but they were completely different in the previous games. Like you think about Anders and Isabella, they are nothing like. They're not nothing like. They are a lot less like their Dragon Age Origins or Awakening counterparts, and so I think that's why it feels less connective. Where from this to Inquisition and even Inquisition to the Veilguard when we get to it, because recurring characters show up and still feel basically exactly like their previous versions, it ties it together. I think the thing I just mentioned about Conrad, he feels the same in both games, looks basically the same in both games. So that's why I feel a stronger connection, I think, to it.
I don't disagree with you. I agree with what you're saying. I think that's just not the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is more that in Mass Effect, we get a stronger sense that the things that we've done previously have ripple effects.
Right.
And I feel like in Dragon Age, I don't get as strong a sense of that.
Yeah. No, that's
what
totally
I'm trying
true.
to communicate.
Yeah.
So I wish there had been a stronger sense of ripple effects.
Yeah, things that seemed like a bigger deal from previous games into this game and so on, and the choices we make.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be a big deal, just something to show that, like, we remember you made that choice.
Right.
And sure, that probably takes more development, more intricate planning. And this game didn't have that.
No.
Which we have to acknowledge. At this point, we're just talking, wouldn't it have been nice?
Right. And you're right. I think because of the rest of the development cycle, the other two games I cited had a lot more time to cook, especially the Veilguard, for better or worse. So, yeah. And I think the things that do have big ripple effects in this game are more narrative, decision agnostic stuff, like stuff we will talk about during the end of Act 1.
But that's the thing. Like, these are games where we influence what happens. I want my influences to have ripple effects.
I agree, totally. But that's not how it was designed, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. In Mass Effect, they make contingencies for if a character has been killed in a previous game.
Right.
And in Dragon Age, they just don't include that character if it's possible that they could have been killed.
Yeah.
Like, in Inquisition, it is possible for Hawk to die.
Yeah.
So, no Hawk in Veilguard, right?
Right.
However, it is possible for the hero Ferelden to have died in the original, in Origins, and they get a couple of references throughout. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and then, but even then, like, and when, I don't want to spoil stuff, but like when characters do even show up in the following games, you are asked, if your created character shows up again, you're asked to like recreate them. They're not like, there's no saved game data. Anyway, we're getting too close to
We're
spoilers.
getting off, yeah. We're getting off track. Okay, we did Secret Rendezvous, Terror on the Coast. We didn't have it. Neither of us had it because we did not let Sophia Dryden live in Dragon Age Origins. Sophia Dryden, if you do not remember, was the corrupted, possessed by a demon, former Warden commander when we explored the Warden's Keep with Levi Dryden, I think.
Yeah.
So we both killed her because she was possessed by a demon, and she was like, "Let me roam the world." I'm like, no, absolutely not.
I refuse.
Okay, Dark Epiphany. Not a whole lot going on here. I stumbled on a dead messenger, and they're murderers and spiders. Basically, kind of a nod to the Wardens.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you not do Dark Epiphany?
It's not on my list. I either did it out in the world or I...
You might have. You might have just, like, done it because it's something that you have to stumble across in the Wounded Coast when you explore the map.
Oh, yeah. And
it's
I
not
don't
something
know that
you get to your desk.
And also, I don't know that I explored the Wounded Coast because most of the time when I've gone to those dungeon-related areas, I go to where I need to be and then leave immediately.
Yeah. I took the time to explore in order to find it. And I did find it. I found the guy. He had some papers on him that these guys did not want to get to the wardens. They cut me off
Yeah.
at like 3 different points. I was like, how many of you are there? And like, how are you incapable of taking this letter from me?
Yeah.
Like, just take the letter. Why would you just kill him and leave the letter? Like, what is wrong with you people? And then you just drop it off at a dead drop, and then you get a letter from the wardens being like, thank you for doing that. Here's some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't heavily story friendly. It was just a little like, oh, wardens. That's it.
Yeah. The next couple are ones that I did. We mentioned family history a little while back when you had done it for Bethany, but I had not yet done it for Carver. And so I did Carver's portion of it. It's essentially the companion quest for your sibling. And for Carver, you find letters from your father writing about what he's done in his travels and mentions a Templar. I couldn't think of the word Templar because who wants to think about Templars? Mentions a Templar named Carver who helped him when he needed help in certain scrapes and like was one of the few Templars he had encountered that actually was compassionate towards mages, which is sus to begin with, but and so when you're reading through these letters, you realize, oh, this is where Carver's namesake comes from. I should tell him. And so I go to Carver, and apparently I hadn't spoken to Carver after our last little tiff, so we had our fight first.
Oh, nice.
Where basically he blames me for everything, and
of course,
he feels like
is your fault forever.
He thinks he's second fiddle, and then
he is.
Basically blames me for Bethany's death, and we like part ways in a huff. And then when we come together, he apologizes for going too far. And you apologize for making him always feel less than. And then that's when you present the letters and say, hey, you should read these. And he's like, oh, these are just a bunch of letters from Dad. Who cares? And he's like, no, read them. And then
what the fuck, Carver? You should care because it's your dad. Well, okay.
Yeah, think about that.
I know. I said it. I heard it. Look, if I found a pack of letters that were from my dad, I'd probably still read them just because, curiosity. And I don't know, maybe I'll find more reasons to hate him. I love a collection.
Yeah. Anyway, so he reads them, realizes where his namesake came from, and is thankful that we brought him these letters and got to share this piece of Dad's past and his past with him. And then that's that. It was pretty well done and well written. It does give me some compassion towards Carver. And there are interactions that Carver's had in the last couple of missions where I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where Carver's coming from. He's definitely feels put upon. He doesn't feel like the number 1 child. He was probably the number 3 child. So I'm not completely compassionate towards him.
Not to hear Leanne say anything. Leanne is so distraught over his death and just never stops blaming you.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I haven't and she blames you for Bethany's death too.
Yeah,
so
I just feel like it never ends with Carver.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's hard to remember. But yeah, so anyway, so I did family history. And then the next one, Last of His Line, is only a quest you'll have if you put Balin on the throne, which I did. And
bad choice.
Thumbs down. And so this is where you encounter Lord Harrowmont, not Harriman, but Harrowmont.
Harrowmont.
In case you were confused. And basically he shares with you that he's being hunted throughout the city by the Dwarven Outlaw Group. I can't remember their names.
The
Carta. And he asks if you will help make the dock safe so he can get home, and there'll be money in it for you. And I'm like, a noble wants help, and I get money? And it seems like he's down on his luck. Seems like a good guy. Sure, why not?
Cheddar.
Yeah. And so this mission sucks though, because you basically just have to wander through all of the area. I think it was the docks. It was either the docks or Lowtown. But you have to wander
the docks.
But you have to wander through the entire area, triggering the hidden Carta to attack you and then fight them. There's no markings on the map. Eventually, once you've done enough of it, one of your party members will go. I think it was Varric will go. I think that's the last of them. We should go back to Lord Haramont. But it was kind of annoying because you just kind of have to wander aimlessly till you found them all. It wasn't difficult, just a pain in the ass. But then you go back to him and he thanks you for your dedication and your help and gives you some money and says, when I return home, there will be more reward for you. Just you wait. It's like, okay, sure.
Just you wait.
So yeah, it was fine. The voice actor of Lord Haramont sounded familiar. It might have been the same voice actor from Origins, but I don't remember. Also, I remember the name Haramont. That doesn't mean that this is the same person in the Haramont line. It's hard to remember.
It is.
It is the same person. Okay. Thought so.
Because Balin's supporters still see him as a threat, or Balin still sees him as a threat.
Right.
Because he could seize the throne with enough support.
Right.
So it's that Haramont.
Yeah. And so, like, I heard his voice and went, I know you, dwarf. We've met before. Well, we haven't, but we have. So, yeah.
We haven't, but we have. You know, in another lifetime. In another lifetime.
I, Matt, have met you. Not I, Hawk, have met you.
We decided to skip that one and that one and that one. So the last major side quest that we get is called Friends in Low Places.
Yeah.
Friends in Low Places is not really a side quest.
No.
It is, if you are the bread loser of the Hawk family and have trouble gaining that 50 gold you need, the game so kindly offers you an out.
Yeah.
And the out is Dougal Gavorn, whatever. He wants to buy his way into Bartrand's expedition. Bartrand said, no, fuck you, go away. So Dougal reaches out to you and says, hey, I'll front you the money, you give me double, and we're good. So he'll give you 50, and then you have to give him back 100.
Yeah.
So I have the coin, so I'm like, I don't fucking need your money.
Yeah, it was the same. I have like 80 gold, I think. So
Yeah,
I was like, I'm good.
need your
I'm
money.
rich.
You
I'm
fuck off.
basically rich.
Yeah, you fuck off. I have the money.
Yeah.
And I really wish that this only triggered
If you
if you
didn't have the money.
definitely didn't have the money.
Right. Because eventually you run out of, like, you can't just delve random dungeons this game. This doesn't have the kind of Skyrim
It's not like you
thing.
can grind.
Right, like where you can just go exploring on your own without a mission. And so, yeah, eventually you'll hit a dead end once you're done with the side quest where you don't have the money. Though, truth be told, it feels impossible unless you're buying all the things all the time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're just inattentive to your wallet.
I mean, I guess so. I just feel like by this point, especially if you've done all the side quests, the game gives you so much money. And you could even do some of the DLC side quests, be damned, and get... Like, we're not doing them now, but you could get more money that way. So, like, I don't know. I understand why it's here so you don't get stuck, but it just seems pointless.
I'm just saying, sometimes you need a little treat. Sometimes you need a little treat. And then suddenly it's the end of the month and you have 20 pounds left in your bank account.
I'm just saying. I mean, also, of the two of us, you were the bread loser for a while, so I get it.
I am a bread loser, and I know this about myself. I know this about me. I try very hard to be fiscally responsible, but sometimes you need a little treat.
Sometimes you need a little treat.
And also, sometimes bad things happen to you, and you have to spend money in order to make them better.
Right. But obviously, neither of us took this.
No, we did not
because
take the
we
deal.
don't need it.
No. And that's it.
Yeah, I went to the Black Emporium. We can talk about it later, but that's just a DLC. It's just a place where you can find stuff you missed on missions, buy special items.
It is handy. I will say that.
Yeah. Basically, it was an answer to the fact that people were leaving stuff on maps and did like weapons and stuff, and weren't able, like, wouldn't be able to find them or didn't remember where they were. And so, if you do that, if you leave stuff behind,
it's mainly for resources.
It's resources and like non-mundane weapons, so like specialty weapons, or like if you miss them on a mission or something in the mission caused them not to show up or whatever, you go to a chest at the Black Emporium and you can get them there, which I did, and then decked out Anders. I brought Carver, Anders, and Varric on my adventures. I'm basically going to bring Carver till I can't anymore, because I assume there will be a point where I can't anymore.
This is true. There is a point where you can't anymore.
Yeah, so I have no idea how that happens, but I know it does, so I'm continuing to bring him. Also, because of all of the tanks, he's the one who is the most morally agnostic. Aveline and Fenris are very strong-willed about very specific things, and not the same specific things. So it's hard to bring them on every mission, because they will judge me for my choices, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Where Carver doesn't really care.
That's true. This is very true.
Which is probably the best compliment I've paid Carver this entire playthrough.
Sorry, I am just checking to see if I have the Last Descent armor, which is your Act 1 armor. Your Act 1 medium armor, that is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where do I find all of this? Because I know I have most of it, but I think I'm missing a piece. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. We do have a piece of fan mail that we got through Discord. Do you want to go through that?
Sure, yeah. Callie continues to write us some awesome responses to individual episodes, and we appreciate it. If you want to respond to stuff we spoke about specifically in a certain episode, the best place to do that is the Discord. You can also send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com or reach out to us on Blue Sky. But grateful for Callie doing this. Also, when the episode came out, Act of Mercy, both Troidal Power and Callie had some kind words to say about the episode and being excited to see it. And we never get tired of that. Like, if you think you're annoying us, trust me, you are not. We love validation. We are attention whores. So never stop.
Also, I love annoying Matt, and Matt has withstood it for 15 years.
That's true.
You can't annoy Matt any more than I have.
That's true. It's not possible. No one's annoyed me more than you have.
Exactly.
So Callie writes, tried to keep this concise this time, but you and this quest gave me several things to ponder and remark upon. I just love, because I do this all the time also, someone who opens a long message saying, I tried to keep this brief, because I often do this when responding to other podcasts. So you are seen, Callie. So this was some thoughts on Acts of Mercy. Appreciate your approach of giving no praise to Thrask simply for not being hateful. For someone like Thrask, I will go as far as say, good start, keep going, which is basically what we said in the episode. But I am a long way from feeling grateful. Questioning prejudice and working toward not being shitty can be difficult, but should be expected. Allyship requires more, which is very true. There exist things so dangerous they should not be permitted to exist or to be used, but despite DA's efforts, it never managed to convince me blood magic is in that category. Fair. Very curious whether this playthrough might change that, now that I am half a dozen years older than the last time I played. So far, my issue remains with those who would use it wrongly, and those are people who are dangerous with any power they possess, not just because of any specific tool. At first, Decimus sounded like a desperate guy trying to free and protect his people, until we get to the line, I think he'd kill us all just to take the Templars down. And attacking strangers on sight is very irresponsible use of power, blood magic or no. Glad Grace was smart enough to just ask for our help. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, you could attack us, or you could just, talk. So Grace was good for that. Lastly, the choice whether to kill Thrask is one of my favorites so far. To me, it is a test of whether hate has clouded our judgment. A little ashamed to admit, I briefly considered it. I mean, you shouldn't be ashamed. I mean, that's what these games are for, is to dive into those those thought experiments, as it were. But do not want all Templars killed. I want them to stop inflicting harm. Thrask is one of the few who might be possible to drag into allyship, even if his current idea of granting mages mercy disturbs me. But Karis, clear enough this guy enjoys inflicting violence too much. All I did was say I support mages and he attacks. What a shame. I'm just heartbroken. Yeah. I mean, these are all good points. And like, I think that the Templar conversation is interesting. I think, and we'll get into this as we get through the game, because of course, if it's not clear now, the Templars are kind of at the forefront of the narrative. This game doesn't, I think, handle a lot of its narrative through lines well, but I think it does lead to interesting conversations, even if they're not handled well. And we'll talk about it. This is, again, a game under a short development cycle, basically meant to be an expansion originally, then became a full game, and didn't have a lot of time to cook. But I do think that these kinds of replies from Callie are the reason we do this, right? We want to discuss the intricacies of these missions. It's why we're holding a magnifying glass to certain missions. We're not just trying to drag the podcast out. Also, it's because Frankie and I have limited time and we can only play so much every week or every other week as we record. But I think some of the missions like Act of Mercy deserve a magnifying glass because of the questions they make us ask and like the stuff that Callie brings up. Well, as always, thank you, Callie, for writing. We appreciate all your messages. Never stop. Now we'll move on to Fandom Corner.
Yes, which needs a new theme song. I'll think about it. Anyway, so you like dragons, and you like a little bit of romance. So I'm going to recommend to you Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. It's a sapphic, cozy romantasy about two powerful women who decide their roles in politics are getting in the way of their happiness, so they leave to pursue a peaceful life as part of a small community. I'm a person who studies how decolonization can be explored through the lens of fantasy, so I found this to be a really wonderful and insightful read. It decentralizes the concept of a massive power and actually kind of denounces the idea of warring powers, opting instead for the importance of building a community and celebrating love. Not just romantic love, but also platonic love as well. So, highly recommend Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. The sequel is A Pirate's Life for Tea. And the dedication of A Pirate's Life for Tea is, this is dedicated to all the people who gave me 1-star reviews because my book had lesbians in it. I doubled the number of lesbians in this book just for you.
Amazing. Love. I'm learning to love penniness in my old age.
Yeah.
Truly.
Highly recommend Rebecca Thorne. Apparently this is going to be a 4-part series, and they're kind of episodic, so if you're more interested in pirates, you could pick up A Pirate's Life for Tea and just read that one. So, and like not be confused. But I really enjoy it. I think it's great. Highly recommend.
And in the spirit of how Frankie predicted this new version of Fandom Corner would go, I do have a video game recommendation. Yeah, which is also actually for Frankie. So if you love Skyrim,
is it Avowed?
It is Avowed.
Is there romance in Avowed?
I don't know, not far enough in.
Continue.
But, so I want to recommend Avowed, which has been getting mixed reviews, but I'm a big fan of Obsidian. If you're not sure who Obsidian is, they are one of the dev teams at Bethesda. They made Fallout New Vegas. They made The Outer Worlds. And so Avowed is a fantasy game, first or third person game in the style of Skyrim and Fallout, but I lean more towards Skyrim and Morrowind and the Elder Scrolls games because it's fantasy based. It does take place in the Pillars of Eternity world, but I am someone who have barely played Pillars of Eternity and still kind of understand what's going on because it's a separate story. And you play as a godlike a person touched by God at birth, one of the gods of the world by birth, and it manifests as like fungus that grows on your face or in your hair. And you can have as much or as little of it as you want. And people will react to it if it's visible, like a birthmark or something else. It's pretty fun. The combat's pretty snappy. The writing is great. If you liked The Outer Worlds and New Vegas' style of kind of punchy writing, you'll enjoy it. The thing for me that I've been really enjoying is the first companion you get who stays with you is named Kai. He's kind of like a reptilian-looking guy, and he's voiced by Brandon Keener, our favorite Garrus Vakarian, and he wanders around with you since the beginning of the game, and then I've already met a second companion since, but it was fun to have him in a game with me as a companion again because it's been quite some time. And he does say some flirty things, so I have been able to seemingly flirt and wink at people, but I don't know if it leads to romance. My assumption is no, because in The Outer Worlds there was no romance for the main character, though you could lead some of your, like, I was able to lead my favorite character in The Outer Worlds to a romance with a woman that she liked. And, like, curate that young love and bring them together, which was fun to play matchmaker in a game since you don't get to do that. So I don't know if there's romance in this game, but the gameplay is really fun. If you like a game like Skyrim, since it's the most recent one of the Elder Scrolls games, at least at this point, I think you really enjoy this. The talent system and the classes are really pared down. It seems really digestible and easy to understand. And you can use a mix of weapons. And from the start, you can have 2 weapon sets. So like I have one weapon set that's sword and shield. The other weapon set is a gun and a spell book. And
I cast gun.
And it's really useful. Like all of the lower level spells cover the gamut of elemental spells you'd need to interact with the world, like burning spider webs, freezing metal grates, things like that. So there's a lot of utility. It's a lot of fun. I know a friend of the show, Joe Mastrapiro, plans to punch things to death, a la Captain America, with a shield and a fist, which sounds about right. So yeah, if you were looking to play Avowed and you were a little discouraged by some of the reviews, I still really recommend it if you're a fan of those kinds of games and what Obsidian does specifically, because I think their charm in writing and style of game, and also it's open zone, not open world, so you're in different zones for each part of the game, so it feels more approachable, more explorable because it's not as gigantic. That said, I've played the game maybe for 6 or 7 hours and have barely done any of the main story because I've gotten distracted.
Like you do.
But it's worth it. I don't know that it would be a game we'd ever cover on this show because there are definite choices. It remains to be seen how important those choices are, but it would be a decent candidate as it's a one-off and a possibility for future down the line as we wait forever for the next Mass Effect that we may never get. Anyway, that's my recommendation for Fandom Corner. If you have Game Pass, it's on there, so you don't even have to pay extra to play
I have
it.
Game Pass.
And that's how I'm playing it on PC, though it's been crashing a little bit. But yeah, if you have Game Pass, go check it out. This is only on Xbox and PC right now, but all Bethesda games do eventually come to PlayStation as well. But if you have an Xbox or a PC, I definitely recommend checking it out.
Man, Brandon Keener's hot.
He is. I consider his characters hotter than him, which I suppose is fine.
That's fair.
But yeah, I mean, this Fandom Corner was mostly for the fans, but also partially for Frankie.
It's for everybody.
It's for everybody. Our next episode, we are doing the dang thing. We're going into the Deep Roads Expedition and wrapping up Act 1. I'm very excited to get through Act 1. I feel like Act 2 and 3 move a little faster.
I think so.
But it's hard to really remember.
Yeah, I have to finish the spreadsheet for them.
But yeah, we'll be taking on the Deep Roads Expedition. Also, I want to call out that you can do the first part of Sebastian's quest, the new DLC companion. You don't get him as a companion until after Act 1, but do that quest. We'll talk about that quest and the rest of Sebastian's arc joining the party when we get to that, because just the first part is kind of a short fetch quest. It's not worth talking about separately. So make sure you do that and then head off to the Deep Roads Expedition. And we will talk to you about that in 2 weeks. For now, we should do the dang thing and sign off.
So if you like what you heard here, you can follow us on social media at ReignitePod on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Frankie B. Writes and DJ Stormageddon.
You can also rate and review us and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. We appreciate any rating and review. That way, when people go looking for side quests, they won't find my other podcast, Fun and Games, but they'll also find this one. Yeah, definitely rate and review us. It really is the fastest and cheapest way to support us. We appreciate when you buy merch. We appreciate when you do other things. But this is really the best way to show how much you love the podcast and help others find it as well.
Don't forget, we're members of the Certain Point of View Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website. Join in the conversation.
Like I said earlier, the best way to share your thoughts on specific episodes is to go to the Reignite episode chat channel within the Discord and post your thoughts. And if you do it in a timely manner, which we can see them, we'll read them on the next episode. As for personal plugs, I have the usual stuff. I can say now I do have a media badge for PAX East of this year. It's in May this year. They pushed it out, so it won't be unbearably cold in Boston, which will be nice. I am definitely going again, and so hope to see y'all there. More on what I'm doing while I'm there besides wandering around and playing games as we get closer. Of course, go check out Fun and Games that I do with the incredible Jeff Moonen. You can find that podcast, its Patreon, and a bunch of other cool stuff at djstormageddon.com. What about you, Frankie?
I am approaching the end of my PhD year, and hopefully I don't have to file for an extension. So I don't really have any projects going on, but I may be producing / editing a period drama podcast. If that happens, I will drop that info here. But that's about it. If you would like to commiserate with me, you can find me on the Discord. You can find me on Blue Sky. If you would like to buy me a little treat, I would like that. That would be nice. You can send that to my PayPal, which is, I believe, at Frankie B. Writes on PayPal.
All right. And, of course, as always, we'd like to thank the one and only Case Aiken for developing some awesome T-shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com or on the Teespring for Certain POV. And we would also like to thank Case for designing each individual episode's art. Thank you so much, Case. I always appreciate when you take my notes in stride.
And we would like to thank Miracle of Sound for our theme music. We love it, and we hope you do too.
And, of course, we want to thank the one and only Red Spinks for designing our Dragon Age-inspired logo. To see more of his work, you can just follow him at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
Also, congratulations, Red Spinks, for 90 Days Sober. Super proud of you, buddy.
Awesome. As someone who's been sober for quite a few years now, it gets easier, but it's still not easy. And so, congrats, bud.
I feel that it is okay to share that because they posted it on social media. And I want everyone to know that we're proud of him.
Yeah, agreed.
And lastly, we'd like to thank you for listening. And we're proud of you too, by the way. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And remember, all Templars are bastards. Even Wesley.
Fight for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk. Hawk, 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 Hawk.
Hey, Nerf herders.
You sure you want to go with that?
Hey, everyone.
There we go. More inviting.
Have you ever had a movie that you really wanted to love, but something holds you back?
Or one that you did love in spite of a flaw?
Well, I'm Case Aiken,
And I'm Sam Alisea.
and on Another Pass, we sit down with cool guests to look at movies that we find fascinating,
But flawed.
and we try to imagine what could have been done when they were made to give them that little push.
We're not experts. We just believe in criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Sure.
So come take another pass at some movies with us.
And every now and then we can celebrate movies that did it on their own too.
You can find us at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Pass it on.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.